Whitaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lee.
And this is Whitaker Weekly. Let's get right to it, guys. So this is week 2 of our KyoAni month. But before we get into the incredible show that we watched this week, let's go ahead and cover a little bit of news that you found.
I found out Overlord has announced a season 4.
That's super exciting. When do they have a release date yet, or has it just been announced?
Just been announced that it's in production. They didn't mention a release date, but we're looking forward to getting one sooner than later.
Okay.
Also, Aggretsuko is getting a season 3 on Netflix.
Aggretsuko is getting a season 3. I have yet to even finish season 1. I keep getting Netflix, and then I get distracted, and I don't ever watch it, so I cancel Netflix.
Yeah, I have every intention of watching it. I haven't. And I meant to watch it with my oldest. My daughter, but she watched it without me.
Rude.
No kidding.
Rude.
Oh well. Last bit of news. Disney announces that they're planning on underbidding Netflix with a new bundle. They're apparently bundling with Hulu's commercial streaming service and ESPN Plus. And it will cost less than Netflix. So it's like $12.99. It'll cost less than Netflix's cheapest program.
Wow.
To have all three of those bundled together.
Is it $12.99? I thought it was.
I think Netflix recently upped their cost so that the smallest package is like $13.99 or something like that.
Their smallest 1080p package is $13.99, I believe. Whereas Disney Plus, theirs is like gonna be $5.99.
Yeah, if you don't bundle.
If you don't bundle it, Disney Plus alone is going to be $5.99.
I think that's based on prepaying though. I think you have to like pay $70 a year or something like that.
I don't know. I'll have to check.
Which is not out of the question. It's something that I know I read a Forbes article back in April. Well, while trying to find this, I found a Forbes article that was dated back in April, and I wanted more recent information that mentioned that Disney hadn't come to a decision on what their prices yet were going to be, but had mentioned that an annual subscription was was on the drawing board.
Okay.
But yeah, now that Disney is going to have so much content that Netflix is going to be hard pressed to compete with them.
Yeah, the only thing Netflix really has going for them is their original content, and they keep canceling it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they're going to have to really partner back up with DreamWorks, which helped them with their Voltron series.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to have to team up with DreamWorks and a bunch of other non-Disney.
As long as those other companies don't open up their own streaming services like everybody else is.
Dom Bluth was an animator for Disney, and Disney became a monopoly when it came to children's entertainment. And so because they were a monopoly, their quality started to diminish. And so when Dom Bluth started his own company and started producing amazing animation, it forced Disney to up their game. I can't wait for a competitor to be beating out Disney on a number of things to force Disney to up their game again.
Well, actually, Disney may have to force to up their own game, because I watched a news video on YouTube where Disney's stock has plummeted recently. It's really, really gone down in the last couple of days, mostly because of the performance of The Dark Phoenix, which is the lowest selling X-Men movie of all time. Go ahead and let that sink in for a little bit.
I heard that their new Star Wars area for Disneyland has had lower than anticipated attendance.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, it's not done yet. But from what I read, one of the reasons it has lower than anticipated attendance is because pass holders, the people who live in the area who own Disney passes, they're not attending as much as they expected. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and move on from that, and let's go ahead and move on to 3 episodes in.
Absolutely.
All right.
So
And
this week was my pick, and we've been looking forward to doing this particular show for a while now, and we're watching K-On!
K-On!
Okay.
Go ahead and read that description.
The synopsis reads, Yui has no clue which club to join, but she's determined to do something this year. As luck would have it, she discovers a flyer for the Light Music Club, and she decides that this is the club for her. But there's one problem. She first must learn guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. And can I just start off by saying, after watching these first 3 episodes, I can completely understand how this anime brought on the Moe revolution.
It's true. It's true. It completely changed. It is the precursor to so much of how anime is nowadays.
And the other one is another one that did it, that like this, and in combination with Lucky Stars.
Yes.
Or Lucky Star did it. And Lucky Star is one that I think that I'd like to watch on our show at some point. But yeah, anyway. So show starts off. Yui is now a high school student. And she walks in, and she walks into school her first day after the opening ceremony, and she's immediately bombarded with everybody trying to recruit her into clubs.
Yeah,
everybody, even the sumo club is trying to recruit her.
Yeah, there's just this scene where everybody's getting on her case. Now, something we breezed over is how the anime really starts with her lying in bed and her alarm's going off, and she reads her alarm wrong, rushes to school, and ends up earlier than she was expecting. Did I read my clock wrong?
Yeah, no. Her sister comes in to wake her. Her sister Ui comes to wake her, and she freaks out and says, oh no! And she gets dressed, and they've made breakfast for her, and she's like, sorry, and she grabs a piece of toast with jam and runs to school.
Yeah. Now,
runs something the entire way.
Well, stop it.
Okay, what?
Before she even leaves the house, there's something I want to talk about.
Okay.
She leaps out. She jumps down the stairs or something and slips. And she's wearing tights or stockings or something, and she slips and lands on her butt and then gets back up again. And the animation of her getting back up really signifies how this show was different from other shows before it. The animation itself, and it happens over and over throughout the show, is that it's not the prettiest to look at necessarily, but it shows every bit of motion that it can.
Okay.
With the budget it has.
I didn't know you want to say that because you didn't write it down.
I did. I just happened to write it down as item number 10 instead of item number 1.
Well, okay. Anyway, don't snap at me if I didn't know you wanted to talk about it.
You kept talking over me. I was talking and you started talking over me.
All right. Anyways, she gets to school, and then it's not until she gets to school that she realizes that she and the viewer, if the viewer's paying attention, they can see that everyone else is just kind of casually walking to school. She's the only one running. And when she gets to school, she then
she realizes she's early.
Yeah, she realizes that she's early.
But yeah, then things go on, and it turns out it's been 2 weeks since school started, and she still hasn't picked a club, and her best friend's worried about her.
Yeah, and her best friend talks to her. I didn't write her name down, but her best friend,
the childhood friend.
Yeah, the childhood friend asks her what club she wants to join. She says, I don't know. There's no real clubs that I want to join. And her friend says, hey, careful. This is how people become NEETs. Not in entertainment, education, or training. A NEET. Yes. And Yui immediately freaks out.
Just for not joining a club, she's now in NEET territory. So she's there looking at a club app, and I actually found this kind of amusing, is that as she's looking at a club application and trying to figure out what club to join and how to fill out the club form, the version I watched on Verve through their High Dive subscription, the word club application was backwards and upside down in the subtitle to match the direction that it was on the screen.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed it too. I thought it was an error at first, but then you wrote it down, and I realized that that's what was happening. That it was upside down to match how it was posted on the screen.
So somebody went through the process of figuring out how to put that upside down in there. And I know that there's online converters for that, where you can go online and have your text flipped or turned upside down, and E's are replaced with schwas that are used for pronunciation guides and things like that. N's become U's and vice versa.
So we were introduced to the other girls of the band, or of the light music club.
Yeah.
Throughout the episode, we've got the two girls, Mio and Ritsu, and they want to join. Ritsu, the one who's going to become the drummer, she's talking to the teacher, who's the club advisor, and she says, "Well, that club is going to be disbanded because all the members were seniors last year and they all graduated.
Yeah.
So unless you have a minimum of 4 members, that club's going to be disbanded at the end of the month." So Ritsu convinces Mio, who actually wants to join a completely different club. She wants to join the literature club.
Yeah.
And
Ritsu tears up her application to the literature club.
She's like, I'm going to join the application club, and Ritsu, takes the application and rips it in half, and forces her to join the light music club.
Yes.
And
when and when Ritsu is arguing with Mio about this club, Ritsu goes and talks about, is that promise we made as young girls a lie? When we went to that concert and we saw how amazing it was, we promised we'd form a band together. And it shows all this information, and then Mio's like, your flashback is a lie. They saw the concert on TV. She decided she wanted to join a band. I'm like, fine, whatever.
But
and that was when I haven't written her. Who's the blonde? What's her name?
I wrote it down here somewhere.
Yeah, the keyboard player is coming in.
Moogie.
Moogie, that's right. Moogie wants to join the choir club and is looking for them, and she ends up walking into their club on accident. So she gets roped in pretty easily.
Now they so while Ritsu is first talking to the teacher, Mio comes in because she apparently is like the class rep for that teacher or something. She's there to help her out, bring papers to the class or something. She sees Ritsu, and Ritsu immediately has a negative opinion of Mio because Mio is klutzy, airheaded. She drops all the papers. She gets intimidated by Ritsu looking at her. And
just the act of these girls standing there looking at her has made her incredibly self-conscious and klutzy.
And she asks the teacher who they are, and the teacher says, "Oh, they're the applicants for the light music club." And she says, "Karui Ongaku," which is shortened to Keonbu, which means something you wrote later, but I also wrote it earlier, so you might as well just cover it right now.
It's the light music club that the site described Keonbu as a light music club name.
I always wondered why this show was named K-On! It was such a weird name for me, a name to me. But after watching the first episode, after Mio learns that they're part of the Karui Ongaku Club, which translates into light music, she shortens it to K-On!
Yes.
So whenever she means K-On!, and the Japanese love doing that, like Family Mart, which is kind of a 7-Eleven chain store in Japan. It's called they short it to Famima for Family Mart.
Well, even the production company,
McDonald's, which is Makudonarudo, is they short it to Maku. So they love taking long words and shorting them. So Karui Ongaku, she just says K-On!
Yep.
And that's how all the girls refer to it from then on, K-On!
Yep.
Um,
In fact, even the studio that produces this, Kyoto
KyoAni
Animation, calls themselves KyoAni.
and KyoAni. But
So
yeah, so yeah, she says that. And then she I can't remember her reasoning as to why, but none of the other clubs really appeal to her, and so oh, that's right, she has a flashback of being in kindergarten and
uh-huh.
playing music, and by playing music I mean playing little clackers, like
A
little
canasta,
clappy
I think it
chords.
was called.
I didn't write it down, but she's like, all the students are playing it and she's really getting into it. It's super adorable seeing her really get into it as this little kindergartner. And the teacher's like, Neo-chan is really good at that. And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, I had fun playing light music. And so she thinks it's going to be things like little toy instruments that you played in kindergarten. And so she decides she wants to sign up for it.
Yes.
And so she goes and signs up for it because it's the only club that she wants. But as she walks down the hallway, she gets all these images of horror movie posters flying by her
Yeah.
head, and she gets terrified of the idea of joining this club.
Well, the thing is, she keeps. The impression I got from that sequence was that she was walking through these classroom areas where clubs were going on,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen anime that have occult clubs or dark
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature, like the one about the three girls that just want to play games all the time. That there was an
Oh yeah,
occult
yeah, yeah, yeah,
club.
yeah. Yeah, that Asobi Asobase.
That's right. Asobi Asobase, they had a cult club. And so I was thinking, things of that nature where it
Mm-hmm.
kept popping up as people were peeking their heads out of their club rooms to see if this
Mm-hmm.
this person wanted to join their club.
Oh
And
yeah, no, like as she's walking down,
saying,
I noticed like I had to rewind it because I wanted to see, but it definitely to me they reminded me of Japanese horror movie posters.
yes,
And somebody opened up the door behind her in the hallway, and he had kind of this dark face as if he was like a horror monster,
yes,
like what's her name from The Ring?
yep,
Uh,
this ring girl. That's fine.
no, she actually she has a name, but I can't remember
Yeah.
what it is right now. But he yeah, this guy's just kind of staring at her from behind, so I didn't
Yep.
catch that my first time through.
Yep.
Um,
And then when she's going up this staircase, and I'm just noticing that there's like carved wooden turtles on the railings of this
mhm,
school. Like they're on mantelpieces and halfway up the rails as well. So
mhm.
it's like and I don't know if this is based on an actual school or if some things actually done this, but it made me think that they've put these blocked things on railings to maybe stop kids from sliding down the railings and hurting themselves, and they made it a turtle to remind them to go slow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if this is an actual thing that somebody did, and it just happens to be this background detail to this show. That's who
Maybe.
knows? Who
You know
knows?
that KyoAni likes to put lots of layers into what they do.
They
So
do. And then that oh, what was it? I don't know what the anime is, or even if it is an anime. I just remember seeing a clip on AMV Hell that featured a guy all in like this white face makeup with like black lines on various parts of this. It looked like some sort of member of Kiss or something of that nature. Just this heavy metal punk, um, death metal
mhm,
character. And so she starts visualizing this character not letting her leave the club.
mhm.
And that's when Ritsu puts her hand on her shoulder from behind, and he just freaks out because she's visualizing this horrible. I'm never going to let you leave. How dare you think about leaving us?
But so
Bullshit.
yeah, so um Yui goes up and she comes to the door and she's like, I can't believe I walked all this way and I have to tell them that I actually don't want to join the club. But she hears like them getting super excited about this fourth member, so that makes it even worse for her.
Yeah,
And so
it just gets harder and harder for
she's
her.
about to turn away and walk away, and that's when Ritsu puts her arm on her and freaks her out. But anyways, Yui goes inside, um, and they start talking to her. And they just kind of assume that she's the guitarist because they've been looking for the guitarist. All their signs around the school are saying we are looking for a guitarist for the light music club for the light music club, the Keonbu. And she so they assume she's their guitarist. And she's trying to say jitsuwa or jitsu, which is kind of like actually, actually I came here to quit. I'm sorry is what she's trying to say. But she's so timid. She just keeps saying G, 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 G. And Mio, the bassist, who so far, in my opinion, is best girl, she keeps jumping to conclusions. She's like, "Oh, yeah, you mean Jimi Hendrix? You play like Jimi Hendrix? No. G. Oh, you mean Jimmy Page? No. Jeff Beck?" And she's like, "How many guitarists are there that start with the G sound?"
Yes.
But eventually,
who's Jeff Beck?
Yeah.
Well, they say that there's two kinds of guitarists out there: Jeff Beck and anyone who's not Jeff Beck.
Jeff Beck from the band Beck.
Yeah.
And everyone knows Jimi Hendrix, and then Jimmy Page is from Led Zeppelin. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, and so she's like, I'm sorry I came here to quit. And they're like, well, here, let's try to convince you to stay. And
they feed her lots of treats, and there's probably, and it ends up being in this show that there's more treats than there is playing of instruments.
And Mugi, the blonde, she's obviously a rich girl.
Yes.
Like she wants to join the choir club, but they convince her to join the music club. And the reason they convinced her to join the music club is because Mio and Ritsu have such a close relationship. And she just laughs at how close they are and how silly they are. And she realizes that she could have a lot of fun in this club. So she decides to go ahead and join that club. But it's pretty obvious that she's a rich girl, that she's an Ojo-sama. Ojo-sama, they kind of say that for meaning princess, but really, she's a rich girl, And she keeps bringing these delicious snacks, like these delicious, expensive snacks. And
it turns out that they're being dropped off at her place because other companies or whatever reason are sending them samples of the sweets that they do out of kindness, and so so much comes their way that if she doesn't bring them to these club activities, they'll just go to waste anyway. And so, like, well, if you have to bring them, we'll eat them. We're not complaining. What kind of life do you live where people bring you more sweets than you can eat?
But anyways, so Mugi, so they offer her snacks and stuff, and like she's still like, I'm sorry, like what instruments can you play? Well, can you play I can play the harmonica, and she says that because she doesn't think that they'll have one. And Ritsu's like, I've got one right here.
Pulls it right out of her pocket.
I lied. I can't play that. What can you play? The clackers. They're like, oh, okay. Well, you're like, well, here, let's go ahead and perform a song for you, please. And she's like, oh, really? Oh, please do. And they perform a song, and it's all right. Keyboard, bass, and drums. And afterwards, she's applauding, and she thinks it's so, and she looks like she had an awesome time. And they're like, what did you think? And she just says, you guys aren't really good, are you? Just like total subversion of expectations. You guys aren't really good, are you? But it seems like you had a lot of fun. And so she decides to go ahead and join the band the club because of how much fun it looks.
And when she decides to join the club, Ritsu pinches Mio's cheek. And Mio pinches Ritsu's cheek. They don't pinch their own cheeks. They pinch each other's cheeks. And they're like, we're not dreaming. Yay.
Yep. And so they get super excited. And I believe that's the end of the first episode. But no, the end is that they tell her that she needs to learn the guitar. Because that's what they need her for.
Guitar player. And she's never touched a guitar before in her life.
And so the next episode, they're having snacks around the club table and stuff like that. And they're talking to her about the guitar. And I don't remember who it is who tells it to her. It may be, oh, that's right. She's asking them why they play the instruments that they do. And she's like, Mio, why do you play the bass and not the lead guitar? And Mio's just like, the lead guitar's scary. I mean, you have to be up front and center and everyone watches you. I just wanted to play from the side. And I realized that the biggest coward among them needs to be the front person of the band.
Yeah.
Because all the other roles are filled.
Yeah.
And Mitsu wanted to play the drums because she doesn't think her fingers, like she's freaked out by just like how the fingers need to move when you're playing the guitar. And I don't remember. I don't remember what Moogie's reason for playing the keyboards is. I think she may have
been
just
playing the keyboard since she was 4.
since
She's won awards.
She was super young. Yeah,
she's won awards playing the keyboard, and so she's a child prodigy, or her family's the type that can afford expensive lessons, and so she gets these finishing school type classes, and so she's pretty happy with being able to contribute.
But she doesn't have a guitar. Yui doesn't have a guitar. So, real fast, we kind of skipped something that you wrote down, but
I didn't really notice it until episode 2.
Okay, but the first and second half of the episodes, what are they called?
So they'll have an intro scene, and this is something that they used to do on DVDs, is that they'd actually break up the episodes into intro, opening credits, part A, part B, and then after credits and then after credits. And so on anime, chapters would be broken up like that. And that was because in Japanese broadcasting there was only the one commercial break in the middle of the show, and so the show was geared around the single commercial break. And so the commercial break transitions. Well, the transition goes, okay, you have an opening, you have an intro scene, and the opening credits, and then a little bit more of an intro scene, and then it'll show a tape and it says side A, and it plays. And then when it comes to the commercial break, when they come back from the commercial break, it'll say side B, and it plays something a little different. I want to say that side A was a little lighter and side B was a little bit more metal.
Probably, yeah.
But I need to watch it. I need to watch it again to verify.
Toby, you're attacking me. What are you doing?
No, Toby, don't attack.
Okay. Anyway, so
for those of you who've just tuned in with us, Toby is Andrew's cat.
Yeah, he's a delightful little guy, demon and an angel all wrapped up into one because he's a cat. That's what they are. Orange ball. But anyways, they Yui is just like a big, he's a big cat. Anyways, Yui asks him how much a guitar is, and they're like, oh, well, you can get a cheap one for 50,000 yen, which is $500.
She was thinking that she was hoping it was in the neighborhood of 5,000 yen, a $50 range, because that's around her allowance. And then when she found out that they might be 50,000, and that it was 10 months worth of allowance, I have to be really careful with my spending then.
And that's for a cheap one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But she gets the courage to. She tells her best friend about this situation. Gets the courage to talk to her mom about giving her an advance on future allowances to pay for a guitar that can take them to wherever they're going. Apparently, she gets it. She does get the advance, and so the whole club decides to go guitar shopping with her. And half the club is there waiting for her. When what happens?
I think all 3 of the members are waiting for her.
Yeah, the 3 members of the club are waiting for their 4th member to show up for shopping.
Crosses the street. She sees them on the other side of the street. She waves. She runs across the street, and then she sees a dog. And she leans down and she starts petting the dog and starts playing with the dog. And Ritsu says in Japanese, "sumeteru," which means a few meters. But they translated it into she's like 10 feet away, and I don't remember who the other one was. I think it may have been Mia that just says, "Will she make it?" She's like 10 feet away. Will she make it? So
she's already on their side of the street, almost. She's still in the crosswalk. Barely. But it's great. So they go in to the mall that they're going to, and immediately Yui is distracted by pretty dresses
instantly. And she's like, "Oh, I could afford that if I buy it right now." No. No. You're buying a guitar. Oh, yeah, that's right. But let's go try on the clothes anyways. And
so they go they go around looking at clothes, and then they go and get something to drink. And I think they do some karaoke or something like that. And you're like, "Oh, this is so much fun." They have a montage of girly things that they do at the mall. And Yui completely forgets that they were there to go guitar shopping.
Yep. And she's like, yeah, that was so much fun. And it's like, yeah, we should probably go look at guitars right now, shouldn't we? And she's like, oh, crap. Yeah, that's why we came here, huh?
I was worried the entire scene that she would spend all of her money and not realize that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she was with her friends, and at least two of them are smart enough not to let her do that.
Yeah, at
I
least.
can't say anything about Ritsu.
Mm-hmm. But they all walk into the music store. They walk into the guitar store, and Yui immediately sees this guitar for $2,500, and it is a beautiful electric guitar. It is
$250,000
beautiful.
yen.
Huh?
It was $250,000 yen on the price. Yeah,
250,000 yen. So yeah, that's about $2,500, 24, 23, depending on the exchange rate, but around that is what
around
it
that.
is.
Yeah,
But
it's a good. It's inflation and exchange rates change, but a penny yen is a pretty good translation.
Yeah. But anyways, she's like, is this the guitar that you want? She's like, yeah, but I can't afford it. And then they decide to go ahead and get part-time jobs to help her afford that guitar. And they start looking through for part-time jobs, and they're like, what about this? Oh, no, I'd be a really bad fit for that. And they start thinking about themselves in certain jobs. And Ritsu would scare customers away if she worked fast food. Yeah.
And Mio couldn't handle the rejection if people didn't take the tissues that she'd hand out.
Yeah, tissue handing out. And like, she's just kind of standing there in the middle of the road trying to hand out tissues in her mental image, and people are just walking by, and she has a breakdown. Because they only get paid if they, I think they get paid on depending on how many tissues they hand out, because those tissues have advertisements on them. So that's the way and like, I will tell you, living in Japan for a couple of years, I never had to buy tissues. Ever. Because there were so many of those girls out there handing those out, not just girls, but guys too.
Sure.
But there's so many of those people handing out tissues, and I was just like, sweet, free tissues. Yeah. I couldn't read the advertisement, so it didn't matter to me in the slightest. But awesome, yeah, I'll take that. Thanks. Just kind of shove it in my bag and keep going. Yeah, I did not have, and it was always nice having a thing of fresh tissues on me.
Sure.
Anyway,
that's something that happened in the last KyoAni show we watched last week. The one about the park, because they said maybe they, like, after the park closes, if some of them would have to take jobs handing out tissues.
Mm-hmm. And so it was the T-Rex or the dinosaur, whatever that was.
Yeah, the T-Rex was complaining about that around episode 3,
and got chewed out. I think. Anyways, got chewed out, saying that you were depending on the fame of the park to make yourself popular instead of working on it yourself, and how dare you do that? But anyways, that's a different show. So,
but it's a known thing that happens in Japan.
Yeah. Mio having a breakdown about the part-time jobs they're thinking about was pretty great, and then they get a job counting traffic, and which they're sitting there and they're using clickers counting traffic, and obviously they start entertaining themselves. Ritsu starts pretending, like, starts doing a beat on the clickers as if she was playing a drum, and they get chewed out by Mio for it.
They're supposed to use the clickers one click for every car that passes by. They're supposed to be using the clickers to track the cars. And at some point, while sitting next to Mio, Ritsu starts feeding out a quarter beat, and then an eighth beat, and then Mio is actually enjoying the beat for a little bit when she realizes Ritsu is screwing up the job that they're working on. And so she turns to her and shouts, "Do your freaking job!
Do your freaking job!" Yep. And a couple days pass with them doing this job. Again, they have some snacks brought by Mugi, and they get $800 for the. Oh, no, I don't think it was that much. I'm trying to remember. It doesn't matter. They get paid for it, and they all hand the pay to Yui.
Yeah.
And Yui realizes that her friends are making this sacrifice to, for her, and she's like, I can't do this. I'll buy a cheaper guitar. It's okay. Don't do this. I'll just buy a cheaper guitar. And she hands them the money back. And so they go And
because
she stopped
they made what, about 8,000 yen a piece, about $80 a piece, and
80
so
bucks a piece. And so,
and
and they were
so
planning on getting another part-time job to keep going. But she's
yeah,
just like, we can be using this time to practice, not working to get me a guitar. I'll just buy a cheaper one. And you can get a fairly decent guitar for 500. I mean, it's not a fantastic, amazing guitar, but it's all right.
I mean, definitely, there's no shame in getting a learner's guitar, and then when you're actually getting ready to perform for people,
Not a
maybe
Paul
upgrading.
Gibson like she's going after.
Yeah. But
Anyways,
they go back to the store, don't
well,
they?
and they go back to the store, and she goes and she stops at that guitar that she really wants, just the one that's speaking to her. And Mugi, she's like, you want this guitar, don't you? Yeah, I do. But it's okay. And
yeah,
then
there
Mugi
was a lead up to that at some point where Mugi got introduced to the concept of haggling. She'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, and the two girls are like, yeah, you just haggle with them and make them lower the price, and they'll go ahead and give you a better deal. He's like, oh, okay, that's fascinating. And then she walks up to the manager or the guy behind the counter, probably the manager, and he looks at her and he says, welcome. And then he goes, what? And he recognizes her, and it cuts to her, and suddenly her image kind of whites out, except for her eyebrows, which flash.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, you're the president's daughter. So he recognized her by her eyebrows. He's like, well, what can I do with you? What can I do what can I do for you?
Yeah.
You can lower the price of a guitar. Or I forget exactly what she says. She's got this big grin. He's like, oh, really? Oh, yeah. Which one? This one. Okay. All right. Well, how much? All right. And he's just like, okay. How about this much? And she's like, you can do better.
That was the exact words that she was taught about haggling. You just tell him you could do better.
You can do better. And she just has this big smile on her face the entire time. She's not mean at all. She's loving this.
Now, a character trait of hers that I hadn't written down, but earlier they end up going to a fast food restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And she beams when somebody asks her if she'd like fries with her order. She always wanted to hear someone say that to her because she's never been to a fast food restaurant in her life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so this is just her personality, is that she is so open to these kind of experiences that she's heard about but hasn't had before. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Oron and their fascination with common folk coffee.
Oh, sorry, this is kind of a little bit of a side note.
Yeah.
But Arrow and The Flash are having their crossover event this season. And the crossover event is Crisis on Infinite Earth. Guess who's playing Batman?
Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy is finally suiting up to play Batman in real life. And they're trying to get Mark Hamill to play the Joker.
That'll pick their ratings back up.
Holy crap, would that be cool? That would be so cool. And actually, they're like even working with Linda Carter to see if she can come and be Wonder Woman. From one of the other Earths.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that is beautiful.
And some other people as well. I think the original Hulk, and just people who played superheroes throughout the years. Lou Ferraro, I think his name is.
I heard that they're trying.
Oh no, it wouldn't be Hulk because it's DC. It wouldn't be Hulk.
I saw something that had to do with the guy who played. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the bald guy that played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yeah,
reprising a role or something like that. Now I know that he's done
the Flash a lot. So he may play a Flash, or he may play Lex Luthor. I don't know.
He might.
So I do know that what's his name? The guy who played, I'm forgetting his name, but he was also on Legends of Tomorrow. But he played Brandon Routh. He played Superman in Superman Returns. He's playing Superman again.
The Atom.
The Atom, okay. Yeah. He's playing Superman again in this crossover event.
Oh wow!
So yeah, he gets to. He was kind of sad because he didn't get a chance to say goodbye to the role, but now he gets to. But anyways, that's kind of a side note. I just saw something that reminded me of it, so I wanted to go ahead and bring it up because nerd news. Anyways, so
the episode ends with
Mookie gets him to talk it down to 5,000 yen.
Yeah.
Or 50,000 yen, $500.
And
She
so
gets him to talk down this $2,500 guitar to 500.
it's an 80% off discount.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And so
But
that she buys the guitar, and I knew it was coming because I had seen so many K-On clips on AMV Hell
mhm,
pieces,
mhm.
including, and I think did you actually write it?
I wrote it down, but that's episode 3. That's episode 3 because
Okay,
episode 2 ends
that's
with
when
her.
it happens. Okay,
Yeah,
so
episode 2 ends with her practicing the guitar that she's just in love with on her bed, and Ui says, "Sister, it's late. I'm trying to sleep.
yes, just keep it down.
Please keep it down." So episode 10 starts, it's number 10 on my list, but episode 3 starts with
usually we write down like 5 things a piece. Here we wrote down 10 things a piece. This is a huge list for us.
I know this is huge, but anyways, Yui is complaining that she feels like her fingers are bleeding, and Mio freaks out. Apparently, Mio cannot even stand the thought of blood, and she's like, "No, it's okay, it's okay. I'm not bleeding. See, it's just my fingers hurt." And Mio's like, "Oh, okay, well, it's fine. Just keep practicing, and you'll form calluses on your fingers, and your fingers won't bleed." And Yui's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And Mio's like, "Here, why don't you feel my hand so you can feel what it's like?" And he was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Oh, squishy, 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 squishy." And she's like, "Oh, they're so soft and nice, squishy, squishy." And she does it a lot. And Mio's just like, "Are you done?"
A little longer.
No, let me squeeze them a little more. And
actually, you're bringing that up. Reminded me of the how the little one in Sound Euphonium wore tape on her fingers to help her play the bass.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because of similar reasons.
Yeah. But anyways, so Yui is now going to school, in which she has the guitar on her back, and she sees her best friend, the one who first accused her of saying that if you don't join a club, you're going to become a NEET.
Mm-hmm.
And she raises her hand, but she's been practicing. Yui raises her hand, and she's been practicing her chords so much that her hand goes up in a chord, like G chord or something. Like I couldn't catch what it was.
Yeah,
but something like that. And then AMV Hell. That scene was used in AMV Hell, and yeah, it's just this little clip with Yui raising her hand, and it plays the song "White Chicks and Gang Signs," do 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 do, and then it cuts to something else. So yeah, as soon as I saw that, I had to pause it because it just reminded me of that clip from AMV Hell, and it was so freaking funny. And then Yui does it throughout the entire episode, where she waves at someone and she's doing a chord.
Yes. And so she's learning the chords, and she's learning how to. She doesn't even know how to read the notation, so she needs to be taught that as well. And so that's how much of a newbie she is in this whole process. But they're helping her out, and she's spending all of her free time trying to figure this out. And she absolutely loves playing on her guitar when she gets home at night, and it's the most wonderful thing for her that this is something that's coming together for her, and it's so wonderful for her that the major plot of episode 3 falls into the fact that she spent so much time learning how to play her guitar that she got a 2 out of 100 on a recent exam, on the midterm. And if she doesn't pass the retest, she can't do club activities. And if she's kicked out of the club will have to disband.
And they realize this, and they ask her how she did, and she's like, "I got 2 out of 100," and they instantly start worrying. But she's like, "It's okay, it's okay. I'm dedicated to studying. I'm going to fix this. We're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take care of this." And we have a montage of the next several days where she doesn't come to club activities, and their club activities are just, eating the snacks that Mugi brings. Oh, and Mugi, it turns out her dad is the president of a big conglomeration that owns lots of businesses, and one of the businesses that they own is that music store. I'm kidding. This is Toby, guys, if you haven't seen him.
Hello, Toby.
He was just on my desk being a brat, and I'm going to put him down. Anyways, hair out of my beard. He's shedding. I have to brush him. Anyways, so they're eating the snacks, wondering how Yui's going to do, hoping that she's going to do well. And then they kind of have this mental image of Yui studying, and she's on her bed
reading a manga,
giggling, rolling, which isn't far from the truth, rolling and giggling. And she gets a potato chip, puts it in her mouth,
and then resumes
and continues rolling and giggling. And they're just like, the club is doomed. And then Yui comes in the last day before the. But anyways, you're saying going to say?
No, yeah. The funny thing is, that's how Ritsu is.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, so Yui asks for their help, and they're like, "How much studying have you done?" She's like, "I haven't done any because I keep practicing the guitar instead." She'll study for like 10, 15 minutes and then get distracted by her guitar, and she'll just strum her guitar, practicing chords and stuff. Yeah. And she's just smiling and giggling the entire time because she loves it so much. Beginning of the episode, she tests out the amp for the first time.
Yes.
And she plugs it in and plays a couple of chords, and it's awesome. And she goes down and she unplugs it. They try to stop her, but as soon as she unplugs it, blah, and they're like, that's what happens if you don't turn the amp off before unplugging the cord.
It's true.
But anyways, she
now the scene where they plug it in and let her try it out for the first time and really see it. Clips of that were used in another AMV Hell clip that I had to share with you the moment I saw that scene. Was she plugs it in and she's getting ready to start practicing. She pulls out the guitar and starts playing the metal version of the Legend of the electric guitar version of Legend of Zelda theme.
Yep, it was pretty great. So they I forget how, but they learn that she has a sister. And they're like, wait, she has a sister? And they have a mental image of this sister just being a mini version of Yui. And both of them rolling around in her room, one on the bed, one on the floor, both reading mangas. And they're just like, oh no, there's two of them. And then they go and they actually go over to her house and they meet Yui. And
Yui's little sister,
Ui. They meet Ui, my bad. They meet Ui, Yui's little sister. And the harsh reality hits them that Ui is a delightful young woman who's polite, well-mannered. She's kind to them. She's a good host. She brings them snacks and drinks when they come in, and she leaves them alone to study because she knows that that her sister needs to study. Eventually, she does come in when Yui's best friend comes over and helps out for a little bit. But yeah, you were saying that the mental image of Yui is actually Ritsu because Yui is studying, learning these things, and Mio is helping her, and so is Mugi. And Ritsu keeps doing these things. Like she gets up, she checks out the manga, she goes over to the bed, she starts laughing and stuff, and Mio hits her, forces her to sit in the corner. And she looks down and she sees Yui's feet, and Yui's tingling because she's kneeling and cutting off the circulation to her legs. And so she goes over and she pokes Yui's foot. And Yui freaks out because just this shock of having a tingly part of your body being touched. It hurts. And
suddenly cut to Ritsu kneeling outside of the bedroom with a giant bump on her head.
And she decides
No. She had the bump on her head when she was in the corner when she touched the foot. She had a bump on her head and a tinier bump on top of that, so snowman effect.
Yeah.
When she was in the hallway. That's right.
So yeah.
How do I get back in there?
And so she's trying to plot how can I get back in there, and she decides to do this grand entrance where she kicks the door open and she rolls on the floor and says a joke.
Well, she tries multiple things. She tries to ta-da, I'm back, or ta-da, and every single time she's completely ignored. Till she tries the most dramatic thing she can think of, which is rolling in, which they do from 3 different angles. They do a Van Damme maneuver.
Now, if that is what happened, that's fine. But when I watched it, to me, it felt like it was her running through scenarios in her head. of what would be the best entrance. But however it is,
she kept running back out
rolled in.
I assumed she kept doing it because she kept running back out again because there was no result, and so she kept trying again and again.
The reason I felt that it was in her imagination is because it never showed her running back out. It was always she was out there and then tried something else. So it could have been that it was just a gag, but anyways, it doesn't matter. That's what happened. Okay, but she hi again, Kitty. Please don't bite me. She does this dramatic roll. It does like 3 different shots of the same action. Something that our brother Doug calls the Van Damme maneuver.
Yes.
Well, if you're not familiar with earlier Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, you're missing out on some pure pieces of absolute joy. But he would do one punch or one kick, and there would be like 3 different camera angles of the exact same shot from the beginning over and over and over again. And that's what happened here.
Yes.
And then they finally react to her, and it is not how she wants them to react.
Yeah, doesn't Mio kick her?
I think Mio goes over and kicks her. Yeah. And that's when Yui comes in with the friend. And like Ritsu's, the bumps on her head's kind of collapse in on her head. They kind of shrink in as she's yelling at Mio.
Yeah.
But all that only took place in 15 minutes. Because it's from Ritsu's perspective, it feels like it's much longer. But all that was just the first 15 minutes of her studying.
Yeah. Ritsu's just as bad.
Yeah, Ritsu's just as bad. But anyways, Yui can't motivate. Yui is burned out. She can't do anymore. And then Mugi's like, well, hey, if you study for a little bit longer, if you get through this workbook, I've brought some cake for you as a reward. And Mio's like, really? Just zooms through the book at like absolute speed, just going through it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So Yui's a simple girl. She likes her snacks. But she eventually falls asleep while they are studying.
Yeah.
And she has this vision while she's studying of all of them in this Arctic, this little hut in the Arctic. And she hears this voice, no, Yui, wake up. Don't sleep. If you sleep, you'll die. And she wakes up and it's Mugi, and Mugi is in, this big coat and hat. Same with Mio. And they wake her up and are like, don't fall asleep, you'll die, you'll freeze to death. And she's like, wait, where's Ritsu? And she looks outside, and Ritsu's out there in this little igloo thing she's made for herself.
Yeah, so they're in some log cabin situation, keeping warm, and they have to look out a window to see Ritsu in an open-sided igloo. Playing with a penguin in the middle of a blizzard.
And they're like, she's already gone. And
he's just playing. Oh,
Mio wakes up from, it was a pretty short nap, apparently. They didn't even catch
Yui.
her. My bad. Yeah, thank you. Yui wakes up. Yeah. And she looks over at Ritsu, who is reading a manga or something on the floor. And she starts crying, saying, oh, poor Ritsu. And Ritsu's like, well, what?
Ritsu doesn't know what happened to her.
But anyways, next day happens, and she starts the test, and there's a couple other students taking the test as well. And like, okay, she should have the results by now. We'll know if the club is going to survive or not. And she comes back, and she's just fried. Like she's got the white eyes, depressed forehead, darkened, depressed forehead, just frazzled hair. And they're like, oh no, she failed, didn't she? Oh, well, we don't know that yet. Oh, Yui, what happened? Are you okay? And she's like, I don't know what happened. And she holds up her sheet, and it's a 100.
Yeah.
She went from 2 to 100.
Yep. And that one day of cramming, what else did it do to her? She forgot every chord.
Yeah. And so they went to play a song because now they have time and they can do it, and they're going to continue with the club. And she goes to play the chords, and she's just like, I've forgotten. I mean, this is the X chord, right? No, Yui, there's no such thing as the X chord. Well, here's the Y chord.
Yeah, she spent so much time with algebra and X's and Y's and formulas and constructing
chord, and she's just playing random things, and it all sounds terrible. Like, Yui, no. Yui, no. No, stop. Yui.
We have to start from scratch with her now. She's lost all ability to play music just to pass a math test.
Yep. And this, oh gosh, these first 3 episodes were an absolute delight. This show was just adorable. The stakes aren't too high, so you can just go ahead and enjoy it.
Yeah. Classic little slice of life.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see the show, finally see the show that really, began the Moe movement.
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah, but anyways, so that's it for K-On! I definitely want to watch more.
I'll be watching more.
And next week, we're continuing with Kill Annie Month. And we are going to watch Tamako Market. And this is the description taken from High Dive. Tamako knows everything about mochi, the traditional Japanese dessert treats. She even works at Tamaya, her family's mochi shop. However, friendships, rivalries, and strange new feelings are beginning to make her life a sticky, complicated mess.
I'm betting that's a pun on what mochi is.
Yeah, you know what mochi is. No, she, so it from what it sounds like, she's a genius at making mochi, but, it's a slice of life comedy, but she's a genius at making mochi, but she just does not understand people, or she has no experience with people. But yeah, so we're going to be watching that for our episode next week.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. So can't wait for that.
Okay, so that's it for 3 episodes in. Let's go ahead and move on to our recommendation of the week, and that's your turn.
All right, this week I'm recommending another KyoAni production, Beyond the Boundary.
Okay.
Now, Beyond the Boundary is a very interesting show. It's been a while since we watched it, and we kind of binged it over 1 or 2 weeks, 1 or 2 days. About 2 Fridays, and boom, it's done. But the main character is this girl who's absolutely adorable, and the last person you would expect to have the power of pulling blood out of her own body to form a sword with. But that's what she does. That is her power, is that she blood bends a sword and uses it to fight demons. The other main character is a boy who happens to be a demon who can't die. And their first few interactions are her trying to kill him over and over and over again and not succeeding.
It's a world where demon hunters kill demons for money. Like, they kill them, they collect these items that drop from their corpses and take it to a shop to sell it. She's not very good because she's afraid of blood, and her weapon is her blood. So she finally decides to overcome it, and she's trying to kill this guy, but he will not die.
He can't.
Yeah, it's the anime that it's a fairly popular meme of friends, best friends.
Yes,
and
that's like the last episode or second to last episode, where after a major catastrophe happened, the main girl and main guy make it back out. Their clothes are all a bit ratty, but the camera follows the best friend, the friend of the girl, who comes up and gives her a great big hug, and the immortal demon is just standing there looking happy as the Captain Reed's friends as they're hugging. Then what happens?
And then the black-haired girl's older brother jumps and tackles him in a hug, and it says, "Best friends."
Friends, best friends.
Yep, it's a great meme. Anyways, yeah, so that's Beyond the Boundary. And that, sorry, you talking about the blood just reminded me of a comic that I've been reading, manga I've been reading, called Farming Life in Another World. It's an isekai where a guy's reborn, and he just wants to live a simple farming life because he died because of the overpaced business life of a big city. And this god gives him this incredible tool where he can go ahead and, plow an acre with like one swing type thing.
Oh, wow.
He takes out dragons by turning it into a spear and throwing it through the dragon wings.
Oh.
Well, he ends up marrying a bunch of girls, and this is like a harem where he ends up marrying all these girls, like a vampire, an angel, a bunch of elves. But rather than it being like, hey, this is great, look at all these beautiful women he's with, he has no nights to himself, and he's exhausted, and he just wants time to himself. And the women are like, nope, we've got to keep up the schedule. Because elves are like an endangered species in this world, and they're trying to help him repopulate the species. And he's like, no, I want a night to myself, please. It kind of shows you how bad that actually would be.
Yeah.
But anyways, he asked his vampire wife, because they just had a tournament arc, just kind of for fun as in a festival type thing. And he's like, now you used a bunch of weird, you used powers, but not really the powers that you usually see for a vampire. And she's like, oh, really? Well, what do you mean? He's like, well, like, don't vampires have the ability to like make weapons out of their blood? And she's like, do you know how much blood it would require to make a sword? I mean, seriously, I would be anemic for the rest of the day for doing that. Like, no, it's a totally useless power. So yeah, you saying that just reminded me of it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah. So that's it for recommendation.
And it does, and actually, it does. The use of her power makes her anemic, and she ends up having an amazing appetite to try to regain her strength. If she doesn't,
yeah.
If
yeah, so they do touch on that. They do touch on that. Okay, but anyways, so next is creator shout out, and they don't really need us to give them a shout out, but I love this channel on YouTube. It's called Bon Appetit, and they've got some great shows on it. It's the people on this, like, they'll show recipes, or sometimes they'll have celebrity tries a recipe where like they'll have a celebrity back to back with a chef, and the chef is walking them through this recipe, but the celebrity is not allowed to turn and look. They have to just follow the directions of what the chef says. Right. They've also got a great series called Gourmet Makes, where one of their chefs tries to make gourmet versions of junk food. And I mean, like, she's made Pop Rocks, she's made Twix, she's made Starburst, she's made moon pies, or snowballs. Latest episode, she made Pop-Tarts, and she tried desperately to make it to where, they don't need to be toasted. It's fine. And everybody who was like, she was going to for like, what do you see in a Pop-Tart? Every single one of them was just like, no, it's Pop-Tart. It needs to be toastable. Like, no, you can't skip that. We're not going to let you do that. So she made these pastries that you could put in the toaster that were like Pop-Tarts. But yeah, no, it's an incredible show. Just a whole lot of wonderful, fun people who are just delightful to watch. A fun channel. I've got all their links here. We're going to post them on our website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and even their own website. So go ahead and check them out if you haven't. I think you'll really enjoy what they have to offer.
Great. All
right. Well,
I think that wraps it up for another week.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much for listening in this week, you guys. If you listened in on YouTube, please feel free to like this episode and subscribe to our channel. If you like what we do and want to support us, please share our channel with your friends. Where can they find us on social media?
Our site, WhitakerWeekly.com, currently has the links to our Facebook page, Twitter account, and YouTube channel. We encourage all our listeners to follow us on the social media platform of their preference, and if there's one we're not on yet, please reach out to us on one of the ones we mentioned, and we'll broaden our scope to include you. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Ben Coombs for providing the artwork for our website and our podcast. Another shout out to Brazmataz for their song Drykolk, which we use to open and close our podcast. Yeah. Well, that's it for another week. I've been Andrew. I've been Lee. And this has been Whitaker Weekly. You guys have a great week.